Okay, can I have your attention, everybody? We've given everybody enough time to attend this gorgeous conversation today. So I welcome everybody. This is our 10th Community Echo Conversation, and it's really a conversation meant to share thoughts, resources, information, personal stories that will spark conversation, as you'll see later on, among participants about how to be better stewards of our planet and our local communities. We hope that the discussions will be lively, transformative, and the community spirit uplifting, and we hope that it will spark a call to action. That's really our ultimate aim, that we want to encourage everybody that actions are necessary and actions are able to be done in a lot of different ways. Today's presentation is called Collaborating for the Future, the Towards Zero Waste 2030-50 program. And you'll find details about what we're talking about, that state program. Today you will see two slide presentations of a current success story right here in this facility as an example of what can be accomplished when a group comes together using a focused approach and engages the users to make meaningful changes, to achieve significant waste reductions. And you'll see what our focus is to get to our goals that the state of Massachusetts has given us for reduced waste to reach for 2030 and 2050. Very significant goals. A lot of different waste, obviously, but we're focused on reducing food waste, turning things into from active things to compostable things, and reducing the use of plastics. Those are going to be the focus that we're going to be talking about. More of the things that we can actually do without a lot of industry, a lot of innovations, those type of things, because we're dealing with those type of things on a day-to-day basis. The second presentation, you'll see details of future actions necessary to move forward in a tangible way to achieve the waste reduction goals established by the state. You'll see a much broader picture beyond what we're doing here at the Senior Center. Then we will have a breakout conversation where we'll raise some questions and get your comments and your impressions of what you think of our presentation, anything that you feel we should include in our picture and our program plan, and obviously share your thoughts and hopefully take back some good actions that will increase our participation in collecting food waste so that it's out of the main waste landfills and things like that. So what we have here, by the way, I want to introduce my team members. Nikki Girard, all right, she's a waste ambassador. Chuck Bulkey, they're present here, and I don't think I see any of the others. We have about 7 or 8 members of our team that are working very closely with Sarah Landry, the director, the Council on Aging director, who we consider our champion. And that having a champion who really supports a program and a project like this has really been a godsend to achieve the successes that we've achieved so far. And you'll see some of those a little bit later on. Come on in, Tom. Okay, so the project.
Hello, can you just introduce yourself?
Oh, that would help.
What organization?
Okay, thank you for reminding me. My name is Ben Iacono. I am a member of the Alliance of Climate and Environmental Stewards. And our group is really spearheading a lot of activity, advocating for a lot of participation in actions that will help the environment, will help the climate issues, will really deal with a lot of the climate issues. And we have initiatives in reduce waste, initiatives in water conservation. We have a gentleman here, one of our members, who's focusing attention on the quality of the water in the Merrimack River, working with organizations multi-state organizations. And we hope to also, we have some youth here that we hope to encourage getting involved. And really, what we're doing is really helping become a better world for them in the next generations. So with the information we have, and if you give us your email and contact information, we can share additional stuff that is going on. And hopefully you can engage and be involved and be challenged as well. Okay, so any other questions before we proceed? Okay, so this project here, maximizing waste reduction at the Newbury Senior Community Center, got started back, the conversation started back in September, where we collectively and off the cuff were talking about what could we do to make this facility more active in food waste. And it prompted an article that one of our earlier waste ambassadors, Jeanette Isabella, wrote about the fact that as seniors, we all grew up doing these type of things, you know, saving newspapers and selling them and earning money. You know, our parents collected metal, rags. We had a throw bucket in the yard that the farmer came around and picked up all of the food waste. So it was something that was very familiar when we started talking about how could we engage this facility and ultimately develop a model for this facility to develop a model using this facility that could be duplicated in other facilities. So it was a focus group. It's a very active facility. It's used by a number of people during the day, but it's really used 24/7. We have a lot of meetings during the evenings and a lot of functions during the weekend. So it became a good collective group of people. Not that everybody was a senior, but really the bulk of it was seniors because that's the bulk of the activity. And we tried to, you know, engage what could interest them to participate in a project like this. So that's how we got started. When we initially put the team together and asked what should be our objectives and what should be things that we can do and scope of what we can do. And our objective was engage an active and focused facility and user group, develop best practices and effective collection system, because we know that, you know, over the years, all of us have grown into other practices that saving, collecting food waste and all of those, reusing a lot of things, they've not been norm, you know? So really try to get back to what we used to know that were good practices. Encourage participation, significant participation. You'll see how we try to do that, make that happen. And our ultimate goal is to attain the designation of zero waste facility for the senior center. And the scope is to identify different wastes that are being produced, which we did, prioritize efforts on the major opportunities. We basically took a look at all of the different waste and what could be controlled and what could be the lowest hanging fruit, if you will. Measure, that was a key scope. We're going to measure the progress that we make. Unless you measure, you really don't know how well you're doing or how poorly you're doing. So that became a key thing to figure out how to measure our progress. Obviously, inform, educate, and involve all the users. There's a lot of things that we have involved, and that's been part of the role of the waste ambassadors who, at times when food is being consumed for functions or for congregate meals, things like that, walk around and kind of look at what do people know where to put a particular item in the right bucket, if you will, you know? Or take the opportunity while they're all together to talk about how they feel about, you know, reducing waste and, you know, changing practices, things like that. And establish a team of users themselves, which that's how we started, but we also had youth representative on that team as well. So the first campaign that we looked at to focus on, oh, sorry? There we go.
We're giving you an assistant.
Well, I had the finger, but good reminder. Anyways, the first campaign was food waste collection. And the key elements that we looked at, we wanted to make food collection convenient, affordable, and familiar, because we were doing a lot of those things when we were growing up. So the key elements that we put in place was we provided a free compostable bag that people could take home, fill it with waste, and drop it off here. We provided collection points within the facilities, not only for people that come in and bring food from home, but also during the time that food is being consumed. So it made it easy for them. Now, that's in addition to the curbside compost that most of you are familiar with, that Black Earth. And Black Earth is, by the way, collecting the food waste from here. But the curbside system is, you have to pay about $12 a month. Not a large amount, but maybe for most seniors, they don't need the extra thing. But it's a convenient way, it's a convenient way to drop off the food right here. So, so what we did is we made a drop-off point outside as well. We have 2 buckets. Other than the big collection points near the waste treatment plant, this is the largest volume and has the most buckets of the city. And there's 4 total central collection points that the city mans and the city pays for. So those are available for anybody. In addition to this one, there's 3 other points. So we said provide the drop-off points. We measured it. What we did is we enlisted the services of the custodians, who every Monday morning, we gave them a little worksheet, and they go around and look at how full the buckets are at the beginning of the week. Because the waste is being picked up on Tuesday morning, so that gave us an indication every week how much was being collected. By knowing the volume of the buckets and knowing how full they were, we translate that to gallons and weight. And education was a big factor. We really had to go, and we're not finished. You can see a lot of different locations where the buckets are, sign that says this part goes here, this part goes there. Just recently, we had a display for the month of August in the display cases. Nikki and others, waste ambassadors, put that up to show actual samples of those things and where they go. It was quite a hit. And say any other thoughts on that?
Well, no, it was just a visual kind of a tactical way to get people's attention, where things go. It's not that hard, and we're going to try to put it on the road and get it to a couple other facilities, just for people to, get more information out.
Yeah, we hope the library will be the next stop for that display. We've started the conversation. And this is what the results has been since October. We've collected cumulatively 6.5 tons of food waste since October, this facility. And that graph is the average number of gallons per week that we've achieved every single month. Impressive. And there's more growth to be had, believe it or not.
There's a question over here?
Okay?
Yeah, I just want to say, when I was out there leaving my condo, there was a plastic bag in there. The compost bag was inside a plastic bag. Maybe there should be a sign, somebody doesn't know to not put plastic in.
Yeah, that's one of the projects that we started to, as a matter of fact, I got approval from the city to put an information board by there. And because of other priorities, we haven't really reacted on that. But we think that it's still on our agenda to consider. And part of that strategy was really to engage the students and the parents of people going to dropping off the students at the Bresnahan School, because the Bresnahan School is, of all the school levels, they've been the most active to teach the elementary school kids about segregating food waste. Katara Harding, one of the teachers who's been leading that project, has done a wonderful job of really teaching them. And one of our longer-term goals is to have a collaboration between the Bresnahan School and the Senior Center School, and maybe turn this area, this campus area, into a sustainability area. That's a longer-term project. But we've got a lot of work to do here and expand to other areas, but that's one that was still there. But that information board we thought would be very helpful to parents who walk the children and students to Bresnahan to do kind of like the same display that we're doing here at the center with the display cases. Okay. Okay, the second campaign is really focused on reducing the use of plastic. And as you know, plastic is everywhere. You just can't get away with it, and it's a fact of life. But there are different ways to avoid and reduce the amount of plastic that we use. So the purpose is really just to focus on choosing alternatives to plastic containers or plastic of any kind, reminding people that wherever there is an alternative, choose the alternative. Buy in bulk so that you're not having a lot of small bottles. And by the way, I think everybody might know, but if you don't, I think it will be emphasized in the next presentation, the health hazards that plastic is having to ourselves, all of us, and the future generations are really going to be hit hard because a lot of the microplastics and nanoplastics are getting into everybody's body, especially children. They're born with that. And, there's got to be a way to really mitigate all of that, and that's really the key focus. We all have to do whatever we can minimize that. And part of our project here is to really showcase how that could be done. Not eliminate plastic, because that's unrealistic objective, but really reduce it wherever possible can. Find an alternative way to do things without plastics. And use refillables. We have a refillable water station, and when we roll out our program that you'll see next, you'll see some of the other actions that can take place. So we've researched an alternative that are compostable. Most everything that is now in the kitchen area and is being used for congregate meals and other meals, we've switched over to either reusable utensils, plates, knives, forks, cups and glasses, or compostable version. So we're trying to show that it can be done. Not easy, and it's a change of practice, but it can be done. You can have a meal on plates that are not plastic or styrofoam, worst case. We started the discussion with ACES, who provides the Meals on Wheels for 30 communities in the local area, and one of the largest providers of Meals on Wheels. For those 30 communities, they provide over 4,000 meals per day. We have been working with them, and Newburyport has been happy to announce that as of August 1st, we have switched our 125 meals per day for our citizens from a plastic compostable tray, which we have a sample in the back, to a plastic tray to a compostable tray serving the Meals on Wheels. So that's a start, and we hope over 30 communities we can get 4,000 of these plastic trays out of the system per day. Amazing. And I'm very familiar with other organizations and other communities in Massachusetts where have just as many volume. And that could be the start of really maybe a statewide program where, compostable trays become the standard for all government-controlled meals and things like that. And our ultimate goal is to declare the center a no single-use plastic container facility. And by that we mean we're rolling it out into two phases. One, controlling the containers under 20 ounces, giving us some time to manage that, and then going a little further. So, we're not going hog wild, if you will. Well, anyways, accomplishments. Cumulative food waste collections, October to August, is 6.5 tons, 4,338 gallons. We've converted the Meals on Wheels plastic tray. Oh, I'm not sure. on two headers. Okay, I covered some of these already. The one that is very important, as a matter of fact, on Monday's Community Service Subcommittee of the City Council, the last month, this past Monday, 2 Mondays ago, Connie Preston, on our encouragement, submitted a resolution which was agreed to be put into the subcommittee for discussion for the city to basically sign up to support the Towards Zero Waste 2030 and 2050 program. So that will be the first detailed discussion. I encourage everybody to attend that meeting at 5:30 at City Hall, and that will be the first discussion on that. We've been talking to some other members. We've been talking a lot with the mayor, but also a lot of other city council members, and they're very much on board. And I think this is like a motherhood issue. You just can't you can't vote against it. You got to go on record. And once this has happened, we hope to have, I think, the momentum to really find the right mechanism to designate this facility as a no single-use plastic facility. I don't know if there's any legal requirements, but there's always some gyrations you have to do when you make a declaration like that. And try to make it stick, by the way. And increase the education and training centers that the waste ambassadors mentioned, and using visual displays as part of that. Okay, now remember. Okay, future plans. Continue to expand participation in the food waste collection program at this location. We think we have a lot more headroom. We think there's a lot more opportunities for participation. Provide advocacy and support for the resolution starting on Monday the 8th. Achieve approval for the no single-use plastic container facility designation, and designate the center as a zero waste facility. One of the things we've talked about with the mayor is that as part of these steps that happen, there's no reason why other facilities and other departments in the city, something like this could be also happening. And he's encouraged us to always invite us at the appropriate time to have a conversation with the other department heads. So that's very encouraging to have that. The next step, obviously, is connect with the other 8 regional communities and kind of show them what we've done and work with them, support them, mentor them, and see how they can adopt some of the similar practices or tweak their needs based on them. Nothing is exact. Every community has a lot of different practices, and you just have to tweak them. But I think we have the framework, and you'll see at the end what we're seeing and what it really takes as a general model, if you will. Continue to support expansion of HSPAN's introduction of the compostable trays to other communities, and support increased participation in curbside composting and or individual composting. Make it more convenient for everybody that can't afford to do the food waste. Black Earth Compost is very, very much involved in our operation and is going to be more involved as we expand and see what the opportunities may be. Just to give you an inkling, Black Earth Compost collects food waste from many, many communities. And a town like, I do a lot of work in the town of Watertown, the city pays for curbside composting. Now, it's an economic issue, let's face it. I'm not advocating for that. But different towns are handling it different ways. And that's really the nuts and bolts of things, is you've got to figure out the best way for each community, for each entity to be able to do what's needed. And the last slide is really developing a model. What has really taken to get to where we are. And obviously we have the focus, the Senior Community Center facility, we have the senior core and the community users. So let's face it, they're the people that have made it happen. We've managed it, we've come up with ideas, we've educated them, but it's really participation, first level participation that's made whatever progress we've made. Now, it hasn't been done alone. We've had all sorts of partners. We got ACES. We have City Sustainable Health, Molly Edmer, very supportive. Encouraged us to do a lot of things, provided as many barrels as we needed. We have the Youth Corps. We have the Newburyport Public Schools that we hope to encourage. We have ambassadors. They've been key to this. You know, people who, you need runners. You need people who really walk the talk. Is that the right phrase? That type of thing. Seminars. This is one of the key things, seminars and workshops that we've discussed, because Sarah has given us this time block every month, first Wednesday of the month, 1 to 2:30, to have different conversations, to get the word out about not only waste, but all sorts of issues related to climate. And we've had all sorts of different topics up to this point. This is the 10th one that we've had. We took a 2-month vacation in the summer, and then we're focusing on trash containment, food waste, plastic, and this H-span, black earth compost, and custodians. Those have been the key to make this whole thing happen. So, a few questions now, or we can have further ones when we break up.
Go back by your mic.
Huh?
Go back by your mic.
Kathy, you had a question, did you?
Go back?
Well,
Don't
yeah,
you know
I have a lot of questions. I mean, first of all,
Oh, go back to the mic. I'm not loud enough?
No, you're recording.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
yeah, no, I have a lot of questions. But first of all, I want to say, I just think that what you've done so far is fantastic, and I have been reading about it in the newspaper and, you know, following along, so congratulations on the work done so far. I mean, you know, one question is, why can't it be a goal to provide some pressure to the city to become one of the communities that does collect compost citywide? You know, Newburyport's a very wealthy community. There's really no reason why that can't be a goal of the city, you know?
Well, that's
And as part of its plans and actions, you know, with the resolution, that could be step one of the city to become, you know,
We have-
models from other cities and towns that are doing that, like Watertown. Why can't that be a goal of the city, something to work
Can we
toward,
hold it?
to? So that's one question. The second point is just that I just think that there's a lot of need to bring this information to a broader public here. And I'm concerned that, I think it's great you have these meetings, but it's, you know, there's a lot of younger people, parents and, you know, younger people who are working and can't come during the day. Are there any plans to bring this same presentation and goals to a younger, you know, audience, or an audience that can participate?
The next group of presenters will cover that. But you're absolutely right, and we work closely with the school systems, closely, especially with the high school, and we always encourage participation in them, whatever we're doing. And we are planning some of these conversations in the evenings so that other people can be involved, and it's really getting the word out. Right now, just a number that we have 1,000 households who participate in curbside. And now, of all the households, we probably have, I'd say probably 6,500 to 7,000 households. So we got a long ways to go, and that's one of our goals, is to increase that number of households and encourage that there are central points that people can drop off. Just for a little ride. Take a ride, take a walk your dog, and drop off your food. Okay, now I'll leave some time for the next presenters. Oh, a quick question. So,
It's not a question. I just wanted to say, I'm someone who was already composting with Black Earth, but I'm very active in the senior center, and I was here at the very first meeting, and wrote a lot of those suggestions down. And I was so excited that right away you guys set up a program. I called my daughter, Sarah, and said, oh, you won't believe it, we're going to be the first group. I'm canceling my subscription. I paid at the end of the year. I didn't care. I called Black Earth and I said, we're doing it at our senior center, so I want you to know I'm still composting, but I want to do it. I want to support the senior center. And I need to tell you, even though that was like my goal, it's better here because when the family all comes to visit and stuff, I have a lot more compost. And I might not want to, and because I live alone, I do my compost, was doing it every other week because just wasn't enough. So now everybody comes, I fill it up, pop over to the senior center, pop it in, I'm good.
Perfect.
You know, and I think and it's easier. And I tell people it's easier to do it here
Yep.
because all of us are here for something.
Exactly, that was the whole
I mean,
point.
that's the whole deal. And I do want kudos to Sarah Landry because really good things don't happen without really good leaders, where she's passionate about it, which she is about a lot of things, because I do other projects with her. And we're so lucky to have her.
Yeah.
And all you people who work so hard at this, I mean, good for you guys, because it's really working.
Thank you. But, you know, the benefits of the food waste, I think those of us that are involved in that, aren't we at the point where you can barely get a full bucket out of the trash per week, that you know, or going on alternate weeks? Because that's where I'm at. Anyways, okay, I'll leave some room for the next presenters.
Yeah.
Okay? Is Alexandra and Dan, okay? And you guys take it away. Huh? Oh. You guys switch over to your, I'm going to switch over.
Just click on the PowerPoint down here. There should be two presentations when you click on it. Oh, there we go. I think this one. No, no. Let me see. I can probably do it. Oh, did you close it? Yeah, you closed PowerPoint.
It might be on like Google Drive because there's a Google Drive one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there we go. There we go. All right. So, hey everyone, my name is Dan Foley. I've been associated with ACES for the last few months. I've been working with Art and Alexandra Yavro, who is a senior at Newburyport High School. She's going to go through this presentation, present this to you. This is a presentation that we put together with help from other ACES members as well as community members and more specifically people from City Hall and the Mayor's office as well as the DPW and other people involved in planning. The part of the Towards Zero Waste program is we're calling it a Waste Watchers Workshop, and this is to involve and collaborate with surrounding communities on reducing food waste and recycling plastic specifically. So I'm going to hand it over to Alexandra. She's going to walk through the presentation, and I think we'll probably take questions at the end. You can finish introducing yourself, your
Okay.
internship, and all that stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Alexandra Yavaro, and like Dan said, I'm going to be a senior at Newburyport this year, which is really exciting. School starts tomorrow. But yeah, so why are we here? So the Massachusetts mandate, as many of you guys know, is 2030 reduction, or 30% reduction by 2030, and then 90% reduction by 2050. And if you think about it, it's almost through 2025, which is kind of scary. We only have like 4 years left till that mandate, but we'll get there. Okay, so join us in safeguarding the well-being of current and future generations, because this doesn't only affect you guys, it affects us too. How are we going to do this? Well, we're going to do it by fostering green, healthy, resilient, strong, and sustainable, everlasting communities. And we're going to do this through private and public collaborative programs and projects, meaning businesses, working with municipalities, and everything like that. Okay, so kind of what Ben said earlier today, well, we're introducing you to the initial collaborative program of the Towards Zero Waste 2030 and 2050. Ileana back there made that logo. And it depicts 7 R's, so rethink, refuse, repair, regift, reduce, reuse, and recycle, which is kind of different things you can do instead of like wasting. Okay, we talked about a lot of collaboration, so here are the municipalities and communities of interest that we hope to have collaborators with. So we have all the 8 different municipalities that Ben mentioned earlier: Amesbury, Newburyport, Salisbury, Raleigh, everything like that. And these municipalities are based upon the 4 school districts: Triton, Newburyport High School, Pentucket, and Amesbury. So it's those 4. And then all the different communities of interest, environmental organizations are really important. We've come in contact with a couple, which is awesome, as well as businesses, and then schools, Council of Agings, all of that, and everything in between. Okay, so here's a project that's already going on. This is Paula Essie in the top left, and her business, The Huddle, her nonprofit, I mean. And this is, her goal is for a citywide promotional campaign to read this book over here, The Future We Choose. It's all about climate change and how if we don't do anything now to avert it, it's just going to be destructive for the future. And this is kind of like a baseline to the whole, or not really a baseline, but kind of like a part of the Towards Zero Waste campaign too. And our timeline is early October, so it'd be a foundation to the workshop. And we've been giving her some support, so. Okay, so Mayor Sean Reardon wrote this letter, I think, earlier this week, I'm pretty sure, and this will become public in a couple of weeks. And it's just about him supporting collaboration within the Towards Zero Waste campaign and project. So this is what, it's hard, it's obviously hard to see, but it'll be available later. But yeah. Okay, and as Ben mentioned before, Connie Preston, a city councilor at large, submitted this resolution, and it's all about the city council and city of Newburyport supporting the Towards Zero Waste project. Here are some health consequences of waste, so like air pollution and breathing problems we have, as well as water contamination and diseases. And then plastics as well, like microplastics and nanoplastics can get in brains and bodies of children and adults, everything like that, as well as pets. This was a advertisement, or not an advertisement, a message posted, by the City of Newburyport Board of Health, which talked about how the rodents have increased in the last 2 weeks, I think. So, yeah, that just shows that it's happening and affecting us here locally as well. Here are some key components of the Towards Zero Waste program. So we have our plans, which is the 2050 plan and the 2030 plan, as well as just annual action plans as well. Then we have informational events, which is the eco conversations like this, as well as the Waste Watchers workshop, which we'll get into later, and I'll give you an overview of that. And we also have the model for best practices, so the senior center, as Ben mentioned, and the great things they're doing here is considered a model. Okay, so now getting into the Waste Watchers workshop by myself and Dan Foley over there. Here's a brief overview. So our plan is to gather, bring municipalities and community of interest together in order to provide them with current context from local waste management experts. And kind of the goal of it is a collaborative plan to come out of the meeting to help meet the mass mandate. Here's the format of the workshop. This is what we envision it happening. Before, a couple weeks ago, we envisioned it happening in October, but we pushed it back to early February just to give us more time, as well as there's this meeting in Boston with 351 different municipalities coming together and talking about all different topics from waste to sustainability, everything. And it's in the end of January, so this would be perfect. All the municipalities leaders can come back together and see what happened there. I think it's called 351 Connect. But yeah, so the first one, as I said, is in early February. It's an educational-based workshop. And this one's geared just toward municipalities, as well as schools and senior and council of aging. So that's the first one. We're going to have a kind of a panel of expert waste stewards there. And they're just going to share, I think, one person from the DEP, and then Molly Attenborough from the city of Newburyport, as well as someone from the South Shore Recycling Cooperative. So, yeah, and then after that, they'll come together, all the municipalities, all the youth, everything like that will come together and kind of decipher a plan to come out of it.
Yeah, just one quick question. I'm struggling in this presentation to figure out who you keep saying we are planning this. Who is organizing these efforts?
Myself and ACES are over here, Dan.
Okay.
Yes, that's what I mean, sorry. ACES.
So this is ACES plan.
Uh-huh.
Okay, got it.
Okay. And then the second one will be in late February. This one will just be businesses and communities of interest coming together. We realize that that's a whole different sector, and it'll take a lot more than just the municipalities to kind of reduce our waste, and we wanted them to be so separate. So the second one is just businesses and things like that. And it'll kind of be similar with the panel of experts, people that, businesses that are already practicing these progressive practices, like New Kitchen, they're doing really well in the composting industry. So people like that will be on the panel. And then in March, we'll just review everything, kind of come together, bring both groups together this time, and review everything that we've talked about and different things in our plans. Okay. And then here are the projected essential participants for workshop number 1. As I said, we're just having municipalities there as well, and then school representatives and council of aging. I feel like the schools and community centers will be really important to be here. And our ideal participants would be 35 to fit the location. And then this is workshop number 2. As I said, restaurants, businesses, and nonprofit organizations are also included, as well as like youth-based organizations. And again, 35 people. And then for the third one, we don't have a count right now because it's kind of hard to envision that because that's so far away and we don't know who's actually going to be at the first 2 workshops. But we envision it probably around the same numbers. It's just going to be a couple people from each workshop coming together. So maybe around 40, I think. But yeah, that's our plan. Okay, and here are the 4 different teams that we've kind of outlined. So we have the research section, which is kind of what it sounds like, just gathering information that we need, people asking questions and us giving the answers back out, things like that. Communication, which is just sharing infographics, posting on social media, and making sure all the right people have all the right information they need. Then outreach, that's connecting with all the schools, the youth, the Council of Aging, everything like that, the municipalities to make sure they're available. Logistics just means the time, probably time, date, place, things like that. We have an idea for the time and location, things like that. Time, we envision it to be like morning to early afternoon, maybe like 9 to 12. Location, there's this awesome laboratory in Amesbury. It's called Code and Circuit. So we envision it being there. And then date, like I said, early February. Yeah. Okay, so this is just a slide about the senior center that we kind of already went through, but they're doing an awesome job with the Drop a Bag, Get a Bag program, as well as they've already been properly disposing of their waste before that. That was kind of like the first phase. And then next phase has been said, no single-use plastic containers. And yeah, I feel like this is a really important piece of it because if other Council of Aging in Amesbury and Salisbury see the work that we've done here, then they'll want to implement it to their own city. Okay, here are our collaborators to date. Some municipalities, some nonprofit organizations, and then some individual participants too, like Don Jan. Okay, thank you for being here today. We really appreciate you being here and hope you can become a collaborator because if we have a lot of collaborators, then it's easier to get the work across. Okay.
Good job, Alexandra. A diligent and passionate steward, as you can tell. And I think all these graphics she put together. So she made a request, and I think the key thing is, if you heard one request, is we're looking for a facilitator. Everybody can help us find a facilitator. The Merrimack Valley Planning Commission is on that track, but you never know, because a workshop to be successful at this level needs to be facilitated by a professional. Nobody's done this before. This is all new territory that ACES is playing a role as a catalyst and a leader to get it started. While there's a South Shore recycling collaborative, it's only made up of administrators. And our conclusion in thinking about what was happening to meet this mandate was it's only going to happen if we bring all the parties together and we collaborate. It hasn't happened yet, but it needs to happen because it's a mandate. Hence, there's a lot of questions that are being asked that need to be answered before we have those conversations. And we want to ask you a couple of questions right now so that you can feed into the process. And the first question is, what have you heard and not heard that you would like to ask a question about? Anything that was stated that you want to know facts about? Anything that wasn't talked about that you think is important to have an answer before these collaborative workshops happen? That's the first question that you can talk about in your table. You're going to write them down, and then we're going to add them to those flip charts. And I'll give you a hint on the second question. It's, what would you suggest we all do together to engage you and others in what we're talking about? Everybody putting in an hour a week can make a big difference versus few people putting a lot of time in, which has been the case now. But with this scope of what's happening, you can tell it needs something beyond. Is that fair, Kathy?
I think that's fair.
Thank you. Okay, so what we're going to do is we've got paper at the table, and maybe let's make 4 tables, if you would. Okay, if you move over to that table and have that conversation. So the first question is questions. Questions, information you want to have in front of everybody. Okay. Let's take a break. Take a break for a moment so that we can share what questions.
They had choice of
Excuses.
So we can share what questions. Okay? Because the answers to the questions is what's going to be important. So who wants to speak here to the questions you have? I need a piece of paper after with the questions so they can be for the notes. Kathy's going to start. If you are.
Okay.
I know she.
So question 1, so this is the one about information that we needed, and this is for the whole group.
Yeah.
Our whole group. What info do we want to have? We want to know what are the schools doing, like what each school here is doing. Does each school have a club to facilitate work on this already? So we need to know that. And some more questions we have are there other outlets for compostables besides black earth? Because like black earth, is that the only avenue to compost that we have? We wanted to know that. Another question is, has anyone reached out to Green Beverly or the Ipswich High School Eco Club to see if they are already working on this issue? because those two are very active.
I'm sorry, Kathy, what'd you say?
Has anyone reached out to Green Beverly or the Ipswich High School Eco Club? Because, to see if they're already working on this, because those two are very active evidently. Okay? And then, the other things we had were for question 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Who's going to speak from your table? Dan, Tom,
I can.
Alexandra?
We had two main ones. It was just, what are the resources and
What are you
talk louder.
really project?
Okay. We had two main questions. The first one is, what are the resources and people that we need to pull up the whole Towards Zero Waste campaign? The second one was, this is one I came up with, but I feel like we have the answer. Well, we just need to find it. It's, what's the cost difference of using compostable material? Like at the senior center, they're using compostable utensils and things like that. So I wonder what the cost differential is and how great it is, so I can, like, me or other high schoolers can bring it into their, like, Newburyport High School and try to get them to use more compostable materials. So those are our two questions.
Okay.
All right, do you want to talk?
Oh, okay, I'd like to start. My notes, please. So on the question of what do you have more questions on, more information on? We started talking about, as the first topic was funding. How do you get money to make these things happen? To do things like free curbside, like the one Tom that you mentioned does. The free bags, how do we continue that on in the future? Coming up with, are there grants available to get professional leadership, like and I mentioned sustainability leaders that we might be able to get grants for in the future. And then funding for various projects that groups or municipalities or even some of the communities could get to start projects like the senior center project, getting funding for that. And then another topic was we brought up, what can we do about stuff like walking into tender crop? You walk into tender crop and you walk out with 6 bags and 2 pounds of material because they put everything you buy in a plastic bag. So how do you handle that? How do you approach that? So what we need, maybe that should be a project or some kind of packet or a sign that you could put on the door that says, did you bring your reusable bag to bring your groceries home in, or something like that.
Or I'll beat the crap out of you.
Well, right, with a fist. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
There's another, I just saw at the food bank at the First Parish the other day, I saw they had young kids packaging stuff for people, and they were just unrolling one plastic bag
Yes.
after another. after
All
another,
the
filling
food,
them up.
all the food groups do. I mean, Pettingill does that. I mean, I used to feel so bad. It's just
Why are they
bags
doing
and
it?
bags of plastic.
Isn't that the question, why are they doing it?
Yeah, it appalls me.
So because they,
Or why aren't they compostable bags, right? I mean,
That's-
it's only going to be in it for I'm a 3-minute drive from Tender Cloud,
True.
right? Why isn't it in a rice
good
bag?
question. We need to find the answer to that
Yeah.
question.
So there's the project, man.
Lots of projects.
Economics, it's always
So
economics.
as we said, all these
That
questions,
was a fun
plus
one.
many more, we're raising them, have answers for the people who are going to be in these workshop groups. So they don't have to wonder, just like we are, about these questions.
And there was one last question was, how do you get the schools involved? We talked about schools for a bit.
Okay.
And of course, we're ACES, of course, is trying.
Okay, we've got a few more minutes. Would you spend it talking about how are you and we and others going to be engaged in this?
We already did. We already did that.
We did?
Yeah, we already did that.
We did it
Did you
too.
guys, oh, you didn't do it?
We did.
Yeah, we already did keep it.
So what are some of the key ways? I'll just write these down. Okay?
Smart table? Friends, talk to your friends, beat them up.
Up?
Restaurants, when you're in a restaurant,
Yeah.
talk to the restaurants. Takeout,
Yeah,
bring your own container or refuse the styrofoam bag.
Actually,
Ask for aluminum foil.
yeah, what we did the other day was just ask for a piece of aluminum foil versus those crazy boxes they had.
And then the schools came up underneath that too. How do we get these schools involved? Engage, yeah. How do we engage the schools? Because if we're gonna make 20, 50 goals, they're gonna be in their 40s then. And they'll be leading the programs.
So I'm writing, for example, with the Interact clubs and the environmental clubs and all the other schools, so we can have presentations such as this, maybe compressed a little, and have the environmental clubs involved in it. Right?
We hope.
It would help. I mean, parents have to, what times?
I mean, one of your ways of reaching people is through the ACES editorials or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
Couldn't you put out a call for help in one of those for volunteers?
Educational column, Chamber of Commerce, right?
Well, I don't know about that.
Well, is it, okay. I put in Chamber of Commerce because up there, municipalities, interests,
Oh, it was on the
businesses.
list. It was on the list.
On the list, you know, we gotta, so they need to reach out to the members and tell what's going on.
Okay.
You're working on the restaurant project, thank you.
Yeah, but there's a lot of other stuff. Right.
The Warriors will, but we all need to work collaboratively.
Yeah.
Like, I go to 2 pantries, I can always talk to them about, she said, people I know there about the plastic bags. At the Seabrook pantry, they have reusable, plastic bags there that aren't new, they've been reused.
That's a good game, right. Anything else?
Well, we had create more student internships to incentivize youth participation. Because if you can get the youth involved, like at the schools, then that also gets the parents involved. So that's like a twofer. The more you can get like the kids in the schools involved, the more you get their parents involved. And somebody said incentivize youth participation through student internships, but I also think there could be fun events involving youth or people in general. I guess it goes back to question 1. We don't really know what the youth are doing. Maybe Alexander, you know more, but there could be fun events involving kids, which would then also pull parents into some of these things. You could have a waste fashion show and runway, making outfits out of, plastic waste and stuff. You could have some kind of an EV car show. Of course, that would be older kids, like in high school, where the kids would have to create videos to, try to advertise them and talk up the good features of the car. Just like, I'm trying to think of, you could have restaurant competitions, like to get the restaurant. I'm thinking of the fun things that make people laugh and get people involved. Competitions to reduce waste or whatever. They have that, for Yankee Homecoming, they have that race with the waiters. Could there be some kind of competition like that, but waste reduction competition involving the restaurants?
I can't think of the name of it, but up in Haverhill, this summer, they had a place that's like a park, and there was kids design their own clothes, recycling clothes.
Oh, there you go.
My grandson Tommy was involved with
And
it.
maybe,
But I'll find out the information
that would
and
be
we can
great.
share it.
Yeah.
And I
And
say,
businesses could, restaurants or businesses could sponsor, a kid and, or
Yeah.
something at one of these events,
Yeah.
get their name out there.
there's already organizations that called Rubbish to Runway. They have events a couple of times a year. I don't know if you've seen them. It's been written up in the daily news. I've been to a couple of them. But this is people that design things out of thrown away recyclable materials to make fashionable outfits. It's called rubbish to large.
Could the kids in these clubs, are they involved in their own efforts to do to the schools, what you've done here? Are the kids motivated to do that? Are they doing that kind of?
A lot of times it depends on the club. Depends on who the leader is.
Are there any schools, maybe that goes back to question one, are there any schools who've tackled this?
Sure. Well, I could just comment on Bresnahan, as Ben noted, that the green team that they have in the Newburyport school system, and Katara Harding was the green team leader, second grade. They've done great things at Bresnahan, but the practices, you know what? This is an educational process. Think of this stuff we had. It's getting together and creating something to build awareness. So we're in an educational crisis about waste. So there's a lot of things here, but this question was about who can help with this. How do we get people to help with these ideas that we got? And we'll send you some information if you would send Mary.
I was just gonna say, Ben said it before, like you can't, and I'm a big fan of the saying, you can't manage what you don't measure. And so I think it would be really cool if we actually had the data on how much waste do we generate as a community, maybe even teach people how to figure out how much waste they generate. And then when we're talking about a 30% reduction, what does that number look like? And then I could envision us, like, they have those thermometers in the middle of the city that show like a fundraising goal, but maybe it's like waste reduction goal, maybe it goes the other way, and it shows how we're doing in getting to that goal, and make it very public.
And if the
It
schools
always has
have,
to keep those records, and publicize those records.
If
There are
the
few communities that actually do that. However, other communities may have, there are other statistics we don't know about yet. But Molly has done a very nice job tracking on a yearly basis.
but could the other schools also measure how much waste they're producing as a starter? Could be a goal for these eco clubs to work with the science teachers
Can you-
to help them figure out.
That specific question, will you capture that? Mary, I just broke down here visibility for measurable. Right, I mean, to make people aware of what's going on, it can be happening if nobody knows about it, then, does that make sense?
Interestingly enough, Massachusetts is the lead in the country for having a waste program where it's actually measurements.
One of
We
the
were
key,
called out by the New York Times for that.
sorry, one of the key elements for the project here is the custodians have bought into it. They're very active in, identifying and voluntarily measuring and sticking with it, because they handle it. They're the ideal people to do it, right on the ground floor. And sometimes that becomes difficult. I think we're fortunate that our custodial staff here, jumped on, but maybe the school's custodial staff is not as, so that's really the measuring point.
So let me ask you about this. One of the things we have is a recognition program for young people primarily, but it's going to expand. And it seems to me the acknowledgement of contributions in various ways is important.
Yes.
Is that
Recognition, yeah.
right?
People
Okay.
love to be recognized, so if you have a recognition, that incentivizes and motivates people to do more because they want to get the recognition.
Right.
Especially
And Liz's daughter Sarah was involved in the enhancement of our recognition program, which is only going to get bigger because the schools asked ACES, hey, you get the brand, you can do something around graduation, so that's down the room. But anybody else want to make a comment about anything? I think there's a lot of good information here. We're going to use the principle of expansion and give you the notes. And
Everybody signed the roster?
I didn't see it.
If you sign it, we're gonna send you the note, the letter from the mayor, the copy of the resolution, and the notes that we've taken. So we'll send those three things as a follow-up. Fair enough?
No.
Okay, thanks for being here, sharing your thoughts, and questions, and perspectives.
Good to see you.
Yeah, please take that one.